With the shifting geopolitical landscape since Donald Trump took office and the growing focus on Sino-US conflict and Trade War 2.0, it's critical to understand who is truly in control of the Chinese regime. Is Xi Jinping running Zhongnanhai, or is he merely a figurehead? If he's not in control, then who is? Since the CCP's third plenum last July, persistent rumors about Xi Jinping's health have circulated. Since then, we've observed Xi's diminishing military authority, his weakening power within the party, and a noticeable shift in state propaganda embellishing his image. Yet Xi continues to appear as the leader, attending key events and issuing directives. This has led many observers like myself to conclude that despite the setback he suffered last summer, Xi remains the most powerful political figure in China. However, according to a reputable political commentator's source in Beijing, this is nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion. On February 23rd, Mr. Cai Shengkun, who is a reliable source for disclosure of CCP politics, Mr. Cai stated in his YouTube channel that he received a call from a close friend in China the day before.
第一时间呢，我听到这个消息呢，我就感觉到呢，是海外自媒体一直已经炒作了很久的这个消息。
对。
但是呢，我这个朋友呢，首先呢，他是过去是一个很严谨的人，也是一个很理性的人。长期呢在体制里面，而不是在体制外面，而且呢是跟级别比较高的这个官员呢做秘书，后来呢又一直呢在经济领域呢从事专业的经济工作。所以说这样的一个人呢，从来他没有跟我讨论过这个中共的高层的这个话题。我知道他现在呢也还在呢跟体制内做一些呢比较高端的一些事情。所以说呢他可能看过我的一些这个视频，或者是呢这个看过我的 X 平台上发的有些文章。他主要是呢他是本着一个劝我他说你不要再去说习近平的长短了，他说这个人已经不重要了。我一听我就很稀奇我说这个人怎么会不重要呢？我说现在这个人可以说是决定了14亿人的命运，也决定了整个国际地缘政治的这样的一种变化，他怎么不重要呢？
This friend did most of the talking and he listened. This friend, he said, in Beijing has a certain level of influence in China and maintains close connections with past and current leaders and are especially close with the families of former leaders.
到了三中全会呢，说是呢党内的这些高层一致认为再让习近平这么折腾下去呢，大家可能都是死无葬身之地。所以说呢大家还是呢推举一个四平八稳的人，最后一致决定呢说是选了3个1942年的这个人。我开始呢我说42年的人，我说都80多岁了，我说他们现在还能够主掌大局吗？他后来呢他就跟我说了这3个人。所以这3个人呢，一个呢是这个胡锦涛，这个20大被架下去的是吧？还有一个呢本来在位的时候呢也都是呢不温不火的这个温家宝。还有一个呢跟高层政治实际上这个不沾边的胡耀邦的长子胡德平。因为党内现在的一大批人当初呢都是他的父亲把他们平反出来的，而且他父亲当时呢推出来的这些开明的政策，至少在国际上不至于受到孤立，在党内呢是受到党内外的普遍的欢迎。他说中国被习近平呢折腾了这么10多年之后呢，那必须呢要有人来主持局面，形成一个所谓的休养生息这样的一种政治环境。所以说呢大家就一致认为呢就推举他出来。他的意思呢就告诉我呢，你不要再去说什么呢习近平还继续的掌权了。我说我到现在为止，我说我看不到习近平不掌权的任何的证据尽管呢就是说军队有一些整肃，是不是他说我现在呢没有办法来跟你呢讲得太具体，但是呢我只是告诉你事情已经发生了变化，而且呢官宣的这个时间不会太久。对不会太久。我说 那不会太久，是多长的时间呢？是1年，还是4中全会？他说你等着吧，很快。他说你可能回来的时间呢，也不会太远了。他说最多1年你就可以回到中国来。他说我们还一起可以呢参政议政为这个国家今后的这个现代化民主化呢这个转型呢还可以做点贡献。
Mr. Tsai's friend also pointed out that within the CCP, there is genuine concerns about the various vested interest groups, fearing that in the post-Xi era, they might take control of China's political landscape. This is because over the decades of economic reform and opening up, these political elites and their networks have transferred assets worth up to 30 trillion US dollars out of China. Through overseas financial maneuvers, particularly their cooperation with financial giants on Wall Street, their total assets have now exceeded $60 trillion. So let's recap what the guy told him. Number 1, Zhang Youxia is the de facto leader of the Chinese military. Number 2, Xi Jinping is only a figurehead who remains in power to prevent the regime from falling apart. But he will step down no later than the end of the year. And number 3, there are 3 individuals in charge, and their age is 82. Number 4, the concern is the influence of the party elites and their enormous wealth parked outside China in the post-Xi era. So Mr. Tsai's disclosure indirectly confirmed previous whispers that we've heard that Xi Jinping suffered a medical emergency during the third plenum, and in his absence, Zhang Youxia invited party elders to the meeting where they built consensus among the leadership. It was during this time that Zhang Youxia gained control of the PLA and the party elders returned to the political scene. Now, there are several reasons why people don't think Xi Jinping can or has lost power. Mr. Tsai put it this way. He said, I've always believed that up until now, there hasn't been much strong evidence to suggest Xi has given up power. In fact, I have other sources telling me that his position is still rock solid. Through his anti-corruption campaigns and tight surveillance over top officials, Xi has everyone in a stranglehold. So I listed, 5 reasons why people believe that it's not real, that Xi Jinping is still controlling the regime. The first reason is all top leaders' phones, close associates, and the people they meet are being closely monitored. It's nearly impossible for them to make a move, form alliances, or plot anything. This applies to retired state-level senior leaders. And number 2, right now, Xi Jinping's biggest fear is security of his regime. And if he falls, he fears his own personal safety. He would never be willing to give up power. If he lets go, he may be in serious danger because he has almost completely wiped out all opposition factions ruthlessly. At this point, every faction sees him as their number 1 enemy. Number 3, it's not just him. His entire faction would all be purged, and his followers may fight among themselves, but when it comes to their fearless leader being taken down, they would all come together, defend Xi Jinping, and resist the opposition. These officials understand that if Xi loses power, the wave of retaliation will be overwhelming. It can be even more brutal than Xi's anti-corruption crackdowns. And the fourth reason is that some people argue that the CCP leadership has never resolved its power struggles through internal negotiations and compromises. It has never happened before. The level of infighting over the past few years has been far too intense for them to make compromise. And their nature, CCP's nature of politics, doesn't welcome or allow compromises. And other arguments against this claim are, 1, Hu Jintao had a little influence in the party. He was forcibly escorted out of the 20th Party Congress podium in front of the world's media. And number 2, Hu Deping, despite his liberal political views, he has never been part of the CCP's core decision-making body. So he lacks political resources and has no power base. However, I tend to believe this claim is credible, and here's my arguments. Number 1, Let's take a look at who are the legendary anti-Xi Jinping forces. The opposition, think about it. The Xi Jinping opposition must be led by someone who holds fundamentally different political views from Xi Jinping. And also, in terms of seniority, the core figure of the anti-Xi Jinping faction would be Hu Jintao, because he's the only living former CCP leader. And he was also once a political benefactor of Xi Jinping. And my second argument is, yes, Hu Jintao is old, and rumors suggest that he's in poor health. But Hu Jintao alone, we know, cannot take down Xi Jinping. Together with Wen Jiabao and Hu Deping, they can. As I said before, a trio consisting of a former party leader, a former premier, and a princeling whose father is a former party leader. And this princeling is also a personal friend of Xi Jinping. So this alliance forms a formidable opposition. Most princelings and their families have spent decades amassing wealth through their status and have engaged in various illicit activities. By contrast, Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao were commoners, quote unquote commoners, who rose to power as technocrats. So, unlike princelings, they had to remain relatively clean to advance their political careers. This gives them a strong reputation, broader support, and protection from Xi Jinping's anti corruption purges. So, with all that said, I think their path forward will not be smooth. The three party elders do not yet have full control over the political establishment. Xi Jinping remains the official leader and still issues directives and influences policies, and he cannot be removed immediately. Additionally, the trio may be struggling to command the princelings and the party elites, whose $60 trillion offshore wealth gives them immense power. And this concern is valid, which is why the opposition remains so low key, because they need time to build up or to build the next leadership team to replace the current one. And precisely because of this, the infighting within the party right now is quite intense. Now, beyond this analysis, there are more signs pointing to Xi Jinping's weakened grip. Just yesterday, Xi Jinping attended a Beijing event titled, it's called Outlining Important Thoughts on Party Building. So this type of event is typically hosted by the Central Propaganda, the Ministry of Central Propaganda, or the Ministry of Organization. And these events are typically hosted by the ministers of those ministry or departments. And Xi Jinping would normally attend alongside key Politburo Standing Committee members such as Cai Qi. But this time, the strange thing happened. No Politburo member attended. At least we didn't see any names from state media. And this exclusion was not limited to the 7-member Politburo Standing Committee. I'm talking about the full 24-member Politburo was absent. And so this is highly unusual. And this marks a significant downgrade in the caliber of events that Xi Jinping attends and serves as a public declaration of his diminished status. And the reason we haven't seen much visible changes is that the party elders don't want the outside world to detect the power shift too soon, fearing potential instability. They understand the regime is fragile, built on shaky ground. That is why they willingly cooperate with Xi's people to put on an act, maintaining the illusion of stability to prevent the regime from collapsing too quickly.